Needs to be integrated into everything. So it's a pretty huge effort. The second challenge is, in cyber, and this is something I find very interesting being a retired military guy, in cyber you really find the nexus between Homeland Defense, which is a DoD mission, and Homeland Security, which is a DHS mission. And again, it's dealing with those authorities and equities. How do you do that effectively while maintaining the integrity of your organization and your efforts? And then the big challenge here, and the whole purpose of the planning effort really is to set the conditions for a unified public, private, domestic, and international response to cyber incidents. So planning sets the conditions. You still have to implement, you still have to train, you still have to work together on a day-to-day basis and develop relationships in order for the plans to work. Okay. This slide just intended to show the importance of partnerships. In some ways, the private sector as a community has differing relationships with each one of these entities, the intelligence community, DHS, the law enforcement folks. All of those folks operate under different authorities. But it's important that we all understand what is done in each of those environments and leverage the insights and the knowledge that all of those things together give us. It's a little confusing, I think, for the private sector sometimes, because they don't have an understanding of authorities and responsibilities regarding how organizations are organized to execute certain authorities, the kind of control measures that are in place to ensure that those authorities are executed properly. So who are you going to call, right? That's confusing, I think, and it still is, and it's a problem I think we are trying to address, as well as folks up at the National Security Staff. And that's obviously part of what the National Cyber Incident Response Plan is intended to help with. How many are familiar with that? NCRP. Well, I'm going to mention it a couple more times. So what I'll say is the National Cyber Incident Response Plan was established as a requirement a couple of years ago during the President's cyberspace policy review, which is kind of a follow-on review to the Comprehensive National Cyber Initiative. It was established as one of the short-term requirements, and it was developed in collaboration with the private sector. Many representatives from our ISACs, as well as the government, participated in that effort, and it should be approved sometime near the end of this month. That's kind of the plan. Okay. National Cyber Alert System products. These products you'll see posted on our public website. They're technical bulletins and information for non-technical people as well. Many of you are familiar with this, these products as well as this, our public-facing website. We get into the NCRP. I think you can read this, most of this. So this talks a little bit about our role in the NCRP. We're a major component of the NCIC. It's a national level operations center. It's 24/7, 365. It's point of coordination and communication with departments and agencies regarding cyber information. Again, it's all about partnerships. And during Cyberstorm 3, we had actually a member of the members of the telecommunications ISAC, as well as members of a member of the IT ISAC, information sharing and analysis centers that were actually inside the physical location of the NCIC, coordinating face-to-face. And so what the NCIC is what we want to do with the NCIC is expand those types of relationships. And the last bullet just talks a little about our national response framework. The National Cyber Incident Response Plan, or a component of it, will also be the cyber incident annex of the National Response Framework. I don't have a slide on this, but as part of the NCRP, they've established a National Cyber Risk Alert Level. well, once the plan's approved, it will establish one. Kind of an HSAS, I guess, on cyber. There are 4 levels: guarded, elevated, substantial, and critical that have been proposed. There may be some changes to that since the plan's not approved yet. But the key point here isn't really what the levels will be. It's that an effort is being made not only to alert communities as to the risk associated with a particular cyber activity, but also recommend kind of expected actions or things that the different communities can do to mitigate the risk, either actual risk or anticipated risk. So that's something to watch for. Multi-state ISAC, again, this goes to your question here. The Multi-State ISAC Information Sharing and Analysis Center is up in Albany, New York. They just did a ribbon cutting on a new building where they're going to house their 24/7 operations center. And so they'll be able to respond directly to state, local, and tribal information sharing, as well as at some point providing some level of managed security services to the states as they require. I think the way to look at this is we're developing a strategy. It's not complete yet, but we're developing a strategy to kind of make the MS-ISAC the US-CERT for states. Just to put that in perspective. Okay. Collection, monitoring, and analysis. Of course, this is a major effort of US-CERT. It's probably one of the 2 most important things that we do. And again, it's the purpose behind conducting monitoring and analysis is really to identify your risk, and formulate, get everybody up to the same speed as far as the situational awareness, get everybody moving forward kind of together. Kind of a common understanding of the threat environment and coordinated response to the cyber incident. We're expanding our sensor network. Most of you know we have, under the Einstein program, we have our net flow monitoring through Einstein 1 and our CERT.
How does cloud computing change the monitoring strategy process?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I know that the Federal Network Security folks, as kind of our compliance guys and the Einstein deployment people, are dealing with kind of location of the sensors and how they're dealing with that. But I don't have specifics on that. I don't really get involved in that. So what I'll do is I'm going to give you my card, right, and give me yours, and I'll make sure you get an answer on that. Okay. So what these Einstein 1 and Einstein 2, in addition to reporting from departments and agencies and the private sector, has done really over the last, I think, 8 months, has really given us US-CERT, a lot more insight into malicious activity on networks. We've been able to do a lot more correlation. Even though our sensor reach is still relatively small, we've been able to do have significant improvements in our signature management, significant improvements in identifying indicators of malicious activity, and all of this information we put out in products to departments and agencies, as well as those that we can make available to the critical infrastructure folks, owners and operators, to help them get better. So, with regard to our analytics and monitoring,